What's up, guys? This is Teddy. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This video, we're going to be talking about submitting data in template-driven forms and Angular just in general. How do we actually submit data to a server? Because if we can't submit the data, the form's worthless. Like, if you can't submit a form, what is really the point in having a form? And many times people get they don't understand the importance of forms. I think that's more the best way to kind of put it. Like, a lot of people, junior developers especially, they don't understand that there's a lot going on in here, and there's rules that you need to abide by. Not really, but there are certain things that you need to have whenever you submit a form, and it's really easy to not understand. So I'm going to kind of cover that. And the way that I'm going to help you learn this is we're going to reverse engineer a post to a server. In ngSubmit, not all the time, but a big majority of the time, what you are doing is you are posting to a server. And within these forms, what's going to happen is you're going to have inputs, and these inputs are going to be translated into JSON, or more specifically, a JavaScript object. I don't think it's actually JSON, because JSON is actually a string. Like, JSON has strings, but you're going to be submitting what looks like this. And the way that this is built is through forms. Okay, so let's reverse engineer this. How do we this is going to be what's actually sent to the server, but how do we make a form to make this? You have inputs. Inputs are these properties. That's one thing that took me forever to really understand, is that inputs are not only are they a way to build forms, but inputs are going to be what build this object. Okay, so what I have up here, we're gonna have like build a form, bear form. You know what I'm talking about? Like the build a bear thing. This store where you get to build a bear, but we're not gonna do that because we're not kids, and we're gonna be building forms like fucking adults. Okay, I got you. All right, so what we do here is I'm going to build this, and it's gonna be, like I said, build a bear. Okay, so now we have a name. What else do we? So we have Poke name, and this is fire, so this will go down here, and then we have this will go right here. This is actually, we need to change this though. And I'm going to erase this and change this. This needs to be Pikachu. Spelled this wrong. And if you can kind of see here, just look at the relationship between the name and the value. That's kind of where you want to keep your eyes at. The name and the value. So let's just highlight our names and just establish the relationship of what's going on and how this object's going to be built. So we have name. Okay, so we have ID, name, type. ID, name, type. Okay, so now we have the value. So gonna get a different highlighter here. I'm gonna get this nice pink one. This is the value, this is the value, this is the value, and it's gonna be right here, value, value, value. And when this is submitted, this is what it's going to turn into, and this object is what's going to be stored in a database. But you don't worry about that, because we're in Angular, and there will be other people who are tasked with that. And not unless you're a full stack developer, it could be. But this isn't it, and this is what we would do if we just had raw HTML. But this is good enough to where you can understand what's really going on with the form. But there's one other thing that we need that we cannot forget. We need this. We need a type submit. You can submit forms just by maybe pressing enter, but most of the time you're going to have a button, and this type is going to be submit. This is very important right here. You don't, I mean, remember everything in the video, but this is very important. You need to have that type submit there, otherwise it's not going to. The next thing is that we need to tell this where it's going. Angular and HTML, this is actually more HTML, this isn't even so much Angular. It doesn't know where you want it sent. So a lot of times you'll have source, and you'll have, I think this is it. I think it's post. You'll have post here, and you'll have a endpoint that you are going to post to. So we will post to the Pokemon endpoint, and that's how the address for the API endpoint can be known, and that's where we can submit our object. But in Angular, it's a little bit different. It's not. Angular has its own rules, and its rules are very, very simple. And only thing that's different is it's ngSubmit. And within this, we are going to have a function where we will call some code in our TypeScript, in our code behind TypeScript file, whatever you want to call it. So we will call this law or handle Pokemon. And then we are going to pass in our actual form. So we go in here, and because we have templates, we have our form just like this, and it's ng form. Then we pass this form into here, and that's what's going to, instead of having an API endpoint, what's going to happen is that the TypeScript is just going to handle it for us, and other code, probably a service, will actually handle sending it or posting it to the server. Okay, so, and then the very last one, we will talk about how do you disable a save button. Say the user doesn't fill out something right, we need to be able to disable submit buttons. It's another powerful way for validation, is to have submit buttons that can be grayed out and blocked so people can't submit bogus stuff. Okay, so let's go ahead, and this is going to be relatively simple. It's not going to be difficult at all. What we're just going to do is we're going to go up here. Let's do our ngSubmit. Remember, we need to have a submit right here, and then we're going to have handle submit. Then we will pass in our form. And this is going to yell at us because we don't actually have any code in our TypeScript, but we will here in a second. Okay, and then the next thing that we need to do is we need to just go down and create a button within our form. So we're going to go in here, button. Remember, it has to be submit. If it's not submit, I'm pretty sure you get an error. I'm not 100%, but I'm like almost positive if you don't have type submit, it doesn't know it's a submit button, and it won't actually trigger this. So what's going to happen, and I'm just going to go back to the whiteboard, is that when the HTML detects that this has been submitted, it's going to run this code. So you click this button, it's going to come up here, it's going to run this code, and this is where we actually need to code up our TypeScript because there's no TypeScript to actually handle it. And I am going to just put this over here. So Pokemon forms, and we'll do the handle submit. This will be super simple. So go down here, handle submit. And we've got object, and since this is just a dummy form to learn, we can just put any. Let's just not worry about type checking right now, because those types are probably, if they are something that I will have to like look at, it'll take me forever to figure out what they are. And I don't feel like doing that right now, to be honest with you. Okay, so opening tag. Okay, so this right here. Okay, what we want to do is we want to have here, so if our form is valid, so if it is not valid, that's when it will be disabled. And then we're going to have here, we'll have save, and that should do it, I think. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, drag this over. Actually, I need to find the link for... Okay, here we go. So here is the form for our Pikachu. Now we need to actually start. Let's go ahead and see if our form is actually submitting and saving. And we've got a couple errors back here. I know what these are. This is just, we'll have to go back and add null reference operators, but we can worry about that later. So let's go ahead, test our save, see what happens. And would you look at that? We've got our form being sent. Our form is being submitted. Got our ngSubmit. Our form is ready to go. And it didn't even block it or anything. Let me see here. Yep, didn't even block it. Anyway, that is going to be ngSubmit. Now we can finally move on to router and we can move on to reactive forms. Hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And as always, thank you for watching.